Admiral Vex stood on the bridge of his massive warship, looking out at the endless stars. His 12-foot frame cast a long shadow across the metal floor. His thick, armored skin gleamed under the bright lights. Like all Titans, he was built for war, strong enough to crush steel with his bare hands, tough enough to survive in space without a suit. "Admiral," called his science officer, Dr. Cole, "we have found something strange." Vex turned his large head toward the smaller alien. Dr. Cole was nervous, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly. "What is it?" Vex asked in his deep voice. "A ship, sir. Dead in the water, it's floating in the void sector." The void sector was empty space between star systems. Nothing lived there. Nothing should be there. Vex walked to the main screen and looked at the image. The ship was small compared to his fleet. It looked old and beaten up. The metal hull was dark and full of holes. "Scan it," Vex ordered. Captain Rex, his best warrior, stepped forward. Rex was even bigger than most Titans, with scars covering his arms from 100 battles. "Sir, the ship looks like junk, probably from some dead race we destroyed years ago." Dr. Cole worked at his computer. His hands shook a little as he read the results. "Admiral, this is strange. The ship shows signs of heavy fighting. But look at these weapon marks." The screen showed close-up pictures of the ship's hull. Long, deep cuts ran along the sides. Burn marks from energy weapons covered the surface. But something was wrong with the damage. "These weapon marks," Dr. Cole continued, "they're made by guns that don't exist in our database, and these cuts, and they're too deep. Nothing should be able to cut through metal like this." Vex studied the images. In his 300 years of life, he had conquered 60 star systems. He had seen every type of weapon in the galaxy, but these marks were different. "What about life signs?" he asked. "None, sir. The ship is completely dead. But—" Dr. Cole paused. "There's an emergency beacon. It's very weak, but it's still working." "What? Language?" "Unknown, sir. I've never seen these symbols before." Captain Rex laughed, a sound like rocks falling. "Probably some primitive race that got wiped out. We should just blast it and move on." But Admiral Vex was curious. He had not become the leader of the Titan fleet by ignoring mysteries. "No. We board it. I want to know what happened here." 20 minutes later, a boarding party suited up in the hangar bay. Captain Rex led 12 of the strongest Titan warriors. Each one wore heavy armor and carried weapons that could destroy a building. They looked like moving mountains as they walked to their shuttle. "Remember," Vex told them over the radio, "we're looking for information. Don't destroy everything you touch." The shuttle flew across the dark space between the ships. As they got closer, the mysterious vessel looked even more damaged. Hull plates were missing. Windows were cracked or blown out completely. Whatever had happened here, it had been violent. "Getting closer to the airlock," Rex reported. "The ship looks like it went through a war." The shuttle connected to the dead ship with a loud clang. Rex and his team cut through the airlock door with laser torches. The metal was thick, thicker than it should be for such a small ship. Inside, emergency lighting cast red shadows on the walls. The air was thin but breathable. Rex's team moved carefully through the narrow corridors. Everything was built for smaller creatures. The Titans had to duck their heads and squeeze their shoulders through doorways. "This place gives me the creeps," muttered one warrior. They found the first evidence of fighting near what looked like the main corridor. Blast marks covered the walls. Metal barriers had been set up like a fortress. Someone had made a desperate last stand here. "Sir," called another warrior from ahead, "you need to see this." Rex moved forward and stopped. On the wall in front of him were deep scratches in the metal. They looked like claw marks, but they were huge, bigger than anything Rex had ever seen. More importantly, they had cut through Titan-grade armor plating like it was soft wood. "What could do this?" Rex whispered. His team spread out looking for more clues. They found empty weapon cases, medical supplies scattered on the floor, and small pieces of equipment they didn't recognize. Everything was built for creatures about 6 feet tall, much smaller than Titans. In the ship's bridge, they found what they were looking for. The main computer was still working, running on backup power. Strange symbols covered the screens. But on one wall, painted in what looked like dried blood, were more symbols. Rex took pictures of everything. "Admiral," he called over the radio. "We found the ship's name. At least we think we did." "What is it?" Rex looked at the symbols carved into a metal plate near the captain's chair. The letters were in a style he had never seen before. UNS Defiance. Mean anything to you? Back on the Titan flagship, Dr. Cole was already working on the translation. "Admiral, I'm running the symbols through our database. So far, nothing matches." Admiral Vex studied the pictures Rex had sent. The claw marks bothered him most. In all his years of war, he had never seen damage like that. What kind of creature could cut through Titan armor? And where was it now? "Sir," Dr. Cole said suddenly, "I'm picking up something on long-range sensors." "What?" "Ships. 3 of them. Coming. This way fast." Vex looked at the tactical display. 3 small dots were approaching from the edge of the system. They moved in a tight formation like hunters. "How long until they get here?" 20 minutes, sir." Vex made a decision. "Rex, get your team back here now. We might have company." As the Titan warriors hurried back to their shuttle, none of them noticed the small camera that watched them leave. Deep inside the dead ship, a computer system that had been pretending to sleep for months quietly activated. It sent a single short message into space. The message was simple. "Package delivered. Targets acquired. Begin Phase 2. Far away, on Nade." The approaching ships. Commander Blake smiled as he read the message. The trap was working perfectly. The Titans had found the bait, just as planned. Now it was time to teach the galaxy's strongest species a lesson they would never forget. The human fleet increased speed, rushing toward their first real test against the beings who thought they ruled the galaxy. Behind them, dozens more human ships waited in the darkness, ready to show the Titans what real strength looked like. The war that would change everything was about to begin. Captain Rex and his team rushed back to the Titan flagship as fast as their shuttle could fly. Behind them, the mysterious dead ship floated in space like a dark secret. Rex couldn't stop thinking about those claw marks in the metal. What kind of creature could cut through Titan armor like soft butter? "Get me those computer files decoded now," Admiral Vex ordered Dr. Cole as soon as the boarding party returned. "I want to know everything about that ship." Dr. Cole's 4 eyes were wide with worry as he worked at his computer station. His fingers moved quickly over the controls, trying to break the alien code. "Sir, this language is completely unknown, but I'm finding some patterns. Give me a few more minutes." On the main screen, the 3 approaching ships grew larger. They were sleek and angular like metal sharks swimming through space. Unlike the boxy, powerful design of Titan warships, these vessels looked built for speed and precision. "Distance?" Vex asked. 15 minutes and closing fast," reported the navigation officer. "Sir, they're moving faster than our records show is possible for ships that size." Vex studied the tactical display. The unknown ships flew in perfect formation, each one exactly where it should be. Whoever was piloting them knew what they were doing. "Admiral," Dr. Cole shouted suddenly, "I've broken part of the code. You need to see this." The main screen changed to show data from the dead ship's computer. Even though most of it was still in alien symbols, some parts had been translated. What they saw made every Titan on the Sky bridge go quiet. "These are battle plans," Dr. Cole whispered. "Detailed attack strategies against Titan ships. Look at this section. It shows exactly where to hit our shields to make them fail. And here, weapon configurations designed specifically to pierce Titan armor." Admiral Vex felt something he had not experienced in centuries: real fear. "How is that possible? Our military secrets are the most protected information in the galaxy." "There's more, sir." Dr. Cole's voice was shaking now. "Medical files, complete biological data on Titan physiology, blood chemistry, bone density, nerve response times, everything. This data is more detailed than our own military medical records, Captain." Rex stepped forward, his massive fists clenched. "Impossible. No species has ever gotten this close to our secrets." 10 minutes until contact," the navigation officer announced. Admiral Vex made a decision. He activated the ship's communication system and sent a message toward the approaching vessels. Unknown ships, this is Admiral Vex of the Titan Imperial Fleet. You are entering a restricted military zone. Identify yourselves immediately or face the consequences. For a moment, there was only silence. Then the speakers crackled to life with a voice that spoke perfect Titan language, but with a strange accent that sounded almost amused. This is Commander Blake of the Human Colonial Navy. You are currently in possession of our property. Return our ship, and we might consider letting you leave this system intact. The entire bridge erupted in laughter. Even Dr. Cole's worried expression changed to one of disbelief. Captain Rex laughed so hard his armor rattled. Humans? Rex gasped between laughs. The small pink things from that backward system? Admiral Vex had heard of humans before. According to the Galactic database, they were a recently discovered species from a small blue planet. Average height of 6 feet, no natural weapons, fragile bone structure, and primitive technology. They had barely learned to travel between stars when the Titans first cataloged them. Human, Vex spoke into the communicator, trying to control his amusement. You are speaking to the Admiral of the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. We are the Titans. We have conquered 80% of known space. Your little ships are no match for our dreadnoughts. Is that so? Commander Blake's voice came back, still sounding amused. Tell me, Admiral, how many of your ships have survived 300 years of constant warfare? Warfare? Vex was confused. The galaxy has been at peace under Titan rule for 2 centuries. Not our galaxy, Blake replied. We've been fighting since before you knew we existed. Every ship in my fleet has been through battles that would turn your dreadnoughts into scrap metal. Every human aboard has lived through wars you can't imagine. Captain Rex stepped up to the communication panel. Enough talk, human. You want your junk ship back? Come and take it. 5 minutes to contact, the navigation officer reported. Doctor, Call was still working on the alien files when something made him gasp. Admiral, I've found something else. These aren't just battle plans, they're predictions. Look at this timestamp. These files were created 3 months ago, but they describe this exact encounter. They knew we would find their ship. They knew we would board it. Admiral Vex felt ice in his veins. What are you saying? I think this was all planned. The derelict ship, us finding it, even this conversation. It's all here in their files. On the screen, the 3 human ships had formed into an attack pattern. They moved with liquid grace, each ship flowing into position like they were dancing, instead of preparing for war. Human ships, this is your final warning, Vex transmitted. Retreat now or be destroyed. You are outnumbered 50-3. Your small vessels cannot possibly damage our fleet. Commander Blake's response came back. Immediately. Outnumbered? Admiral, you're looking at this all wrong. It's not 50 against 3. It's 50 of your ships against 3 of ours that have never lost a battle. 2 minutes to weapons range, the tactical officer reported. Admiral Vex looked around his bridge. Every station was manned by the best warriors in the Titan fleet. His flagship alone carried enough firepower to destroy a planet. Behind him, 49 other Titan warships waited in formation. They had never been defeated in battle. But something was wrong. The human ships weren't acting like any enemy he had ever faced. Instead of spreading out or trying to run, they were moving closer together, like they were getting ready to do something impossible. Admiral, Dr. Cole called out urgently. I found something else in their files. A tactical manual. Chapter 7. How to fight enemies bigger than you. Sir, they have specific strategies for fighting larger opponents. This whole manual is about winning battles when you're outnumbered and outgunned. Weapons range in 30 seconds, the tactical officer announced. Admiral Vex stared at the screen. The 3 small human ships looked like insects compared to his massive fleet. But insects, he remembered from his studies of conquered worlds, sometimes had the deadliest bites. All ships, battle stations, he commanded. Let's show these humans why we rule the galaxy. But even as he gave the order, Admiral Vex couldn't shake the feeling that he was about to learn something he really didn't want to know. On the human flagship, Commander Blake looked at his tactical display and smiled. Everything was going according to plan. The Titans had taken the bait perfectly. Now it was time to teach the galaxy's so-called strongest species their first lesson in humility. "All ships prepare to engage," Blake ordered. "Remember, we're not here to destroy them, we're here to educate them, make every shot count." The first battle between humans and Titans was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. 50 Titan warships opened fire at the same time. The space between the fleets lit up like a star-going nova. Massive energy beams, plasma cannons, and missile swarms all aimed at the 3 small human ships. It was enough firepower to destroy a moon. But when the light faded, all 3 human ships were still there. "Impossible," Captain Rex whispered. The human ships had moved. Not just moved, they had danced. While the Titan weapons fired in straight lines, the human vessels had twisted and spun through space like they were alive. They used the gravity of nearby asteroids to change direction. They flew behind debris to hide. They moved in ways that made no sense. "How did they do that?" Dr. Cole asked, staring at his instruments. "All ships, adjust targeting," Admiral Vex ordered. "Lock onto their new positions." But the human ships weren't staying still. They flew in patterns that hurt to watch. One moment they were spread apart. The next they were flying so close together, they looked like one ship. Then they would split. Again, an attack from 3 different directions. "Admiral," the tactical officer called out, "they're targeting our shield generators." "What? How do they know where those are?" Before Vex could get an answer, the human ships opened fire. Their weapons weren't the biggest or most powerful in the galaxy, but they were precise. Each shot hit exactly where it was supposed to. The first Titan ship lost its shields. The second lost its main guns. The third started spinning out of control as its engines died. "Return fire. All ships, return fire," Vex screamed. The Titan fleet tried to hit the human ships again. But it was like trying to swat flies with hammers. The humans were too fast, too smart, and they seemed to know exactly what the Titans would do before they did it. Captain Rex watched in growing horror as his mighty fleet fell apart. "Sir, they're not fighting like any species I've ever seen. They're not trying to overpower us. They're hunting us." It was true. The human ships moved like predators. They would attack one Titan ship until it was damaged, then move to the next. They never stayed in one place long enough to be hit. They used every piece of space junk, every asteroid, every shadow as cover. "Admiral!" Dr. Cole shouted over the noise of battle. "I'm reading massive power spikes from the derelict ship." On the screen, the dead human ship that had started this whole mess was coming alive. Lights flickered on across its hull. Engines that had been cold for months roared to life. Weapon systems that had looked broken and useless started to power up. "The boarding party," Admiral Vex realized with horror. "Rex, get your men out of there now." But it was too late. Inside the human ship, Captain Rex's warriors were trapped. The moment the ship powered up, emergency bulkheads had slammed shut. The Titans found themselves locked in small rooms with no way out. "Sir," Rex's voice came over the radio, filled with panic. "The ship. It's alive. The computer is talking to us." "What's it saying?" "I don't know. It's in that alien language." Back on Dr. Cole's station, the translation program was finally working. The computer's voice echoed through the Titan flagship as he decoded it. "Quarantine protocol activated. Hostile borders detected. Beginning defensive procedures." "Defensive procedures?" Admiral Vex asked. "What does that mean?" His answer came from Commander Blake's voice over the communication channel. "It means, Admiral, that your warriors are about to learn why human ships are dangerous. It's not the ship itself. It's what we put inside it." On the human derelict, Captain Rex and his men found themselves in a nightmare. The ship's computer had turned everything into a weapon. Air vents started spraying sleeping gas. Floors became electrified. Wall panels shot out nets to trap anyone who moved too fast. "This is impossible," Rex shouted into his radio. "Civilian ships don't have this kind of defensive system." That's where you're wrong, Commander Blake replied, his voice now coming through the derelict ship's speakers. There are no civilian ships in the human fleet. Every vessel is built to fight. Every human aboard is trained to survive. We learned long ago that in space, everything tries to kill you, so we made everything killable back. Rex tried to break down a door with his massive strength. The metal bent but didn't break. When he hit it again, electricity shot through his armor, dropping him to his knees. "Rex!" Admiral Vex called over the radio. "Report!" "Sir," Rex gasped. "This ship is fighting us. Not the crew, the ship itself, the walls, the floors, even the air. Everything is a weapon." Outside, the battle continued. But it wasn't really a battle anymore. It was a lesson. The 3 human ships had disabled 15 Titan vessels without destroying a single one. They targeted engines, weapons, and life support, but never the parts that would kill the crews. "Admiral," the tactical officer reported, "we've lost 30% of our firepower, but the strange thing is, they could have destroyed us all by now. They're holding back." Admiral Vex was beginning to understand something terrible. The humans weren't trying to win a battle, they were trying to teach him something. "Commander Blake," he called over the radio. "What do you want?" "I want you to listen, Admiral. Your species has conquered most of the galaxy through superior strength and firepower. You've never had to fight for your survival. But we have. For 300 years we fought wars that made your worst battles look like children's games." On the screen, the human ships reformed into a new pattern. They weren't attacking anymore. They were just waiting. Blake continued. "Every human ship has survived fights that would have destroyed your dreadnoughts. Every human crew has lived through disasters that would have killed your strongest warriors. We don't fight to conquer, Admiral. We fight to survive. And that makes us very, very dangerous." Inside the derelict ship, Rex and his men had stopped trying to break out. The ship's defenses had adapted to everything they tried. When they used brute force, the ship used electricity. When they tried to cut through walls, the ship released gas that made them dizzy. When they tried to think their way out, the ship seemed to read their minds and close off every escape route. "Sir," Rex reported weakly, "I think I understand now. This isn't just a ship, it's a trap that thinks." Dr. Cole was studying the tactical data from the battle when something made him go pale. "Admiral, I've been analyzing their attack patterns. These humans, they know our technology better than we do. Every shot they fired hit a critical system. They know exactly how our ships work, how our weapons function, even how we think." Admiral Vex looked at his damaged fleet. Most of his ships were disabled but not destroyed. His warriors were alive but defeated. And somewhere out there, only 3 small human ships had done this to the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. "Commander Blake," he said quietly into the radio, "you've made your point. What happens now?" Blake's voice came back, and for the first time it wasn't amused. It was serious. "Now, Admiral, you learn the most important lesson of all. Being the strongest doesn't mean anything if you can't adapt when everything goes wrong. Your species built an empire on power. We built our survival on intelligence. The galaxy is about to change, and you can either learn from us or be left behind." The first battle between humans and Titans was over. But the real war, the war for the future of the galaxy, was just beginning. Captain Rex sat on the floor of the human ship, breathing heavily. His massive armor was scratched and dented from trying to break free. Around him, his 11 warriors looked just as beaten. The ship had stopped attacking them, but they were still trapped. "Rex," Admiral Vex's voice crackled through the radio. "Are you alive?" "Yes, sir," Rex replied. "But this ship? It's like nothing we've ever seen. It fought us without any crew. The walls themselves were weapons." Dr. Cole had been studying the ship's systems from his position on the Titan flagship. "Captain, I think I understand what happened. This isn't just a warship. It's a survival machine. Every system has 3 backup systems. Every room can become a fortress. Every piece of equipment can be turned into a weapon." Rex looked around the small room where he was trapped. Now that the fighting had stopped, he could see things more clearly. The walls weren't just metal, they were covered with repair patches, jury-rigged connections and makeshift modifications. This ship had been rebuilt many times. "Sir," Rex said into his radio, "I'm looking at the ship's internal structure. This vessel has been repaired using parts from dozens of different technologies. Some of this equipment, I don't even recognize it." "What do you mean?" Admiral Vex asked. "They've taken pieces from destroyed ships and made them work together. Titan power cores connected to alien weapon systems. Engine parts from 5 different species all working as one unit. Sir, whoever built this ship didn't just repair it. They improved it using salvage technology." On the main screen of his ship, Rex found something that made his blood run cold. It was a video log from the ship's final battle. As he watched, he began to understand what humans really were. The video showed the ship's crew during their last fight. Rex counted only 20 humans aboard, tiny creatures compared to Titans. But as he watched them work, he realized they were not like any species he had ever encountered. When the ship's main weapon system failed, instead of giving up, the humans rerouted power from life support to make it work. When the engine was damaged, they used medical equipment to create replacement parts. When enemies boarded their ship, they didn't just fight them. They turned their own ship into a maze of traps and weapons. "Admiral," Rex whispered into his radio, "you need to see this. I'm sending you a video file." The recording showed a human female, barely 5 feet tall and bleeding from multiple wounds. She was surrounded by 8 alien warriors, each one twice her size. Instead of surrendering, she used her knowledge of the ship's systems to create weapons from medical supplies. She turned the lights off and on to confuse her enemies. She used the ship's gravity controls to throw them around like toys. She held them off for 40 minutes, Rex reported, his voice full of amazement. 1 small injured human against 8 trained warriors, and she won. Admiral Vex watched the video on his bridge. Around him, his officers were silent. They were seeing something that challenged everything they believed about strength and power. "How is this possible?" Captain Rex asked over the radio. Commander Blake's voice answered him, coming through the ship's communication system. "Because, Captain, your species has never had to fight for survival. You conquered weak worlds and defeated enemies through superior firepower. But we had to fight for everything." The communication screen activated, showing Blake's face for the first time. He was a human male, average height, with gray hair and tired eyes. He looked nothing like a warrior who could defeat the galaxy's strongest species. "For 300 years, Blake continued, humanity fought wars on every front. We fought alien invasions, plague outbreaks, civil wars, and natural disasters. We didn't just survive. We learned to thrive in chaos. Every human ship is designed to operate independently for years. Every human is trained in multiple skills: soldier, engineer, medic, pilot." Dr. Cole had been analyzing the data from the battle. "Commander Blake, your ships moved in ways that shouldn't be possible. Your weapons hit targets with impossible accuracy." "How?" Blake smiled sadly. "Because we've been fighting enemies like you for centuries. Big, powerful, confident enemies who thought their strength made them unbeatable. We learned that the best way to defeat a stronger opponent is to know them better than they know themselves." On his workstation, Dr. Cole pulled up more translated files from the human ship. What he found made him gasp. "Admiral, these files contain tactical analysis of over 100 different alien species. Battle strategies, weapon specifications, biological weaknesses. They have detailed plans for fighting every major race in the galaxy. Including us," Admiral Vex said quietly. "Especially you," Blake confirmed. "We've been watching the Titans for 50 years. We know how you fight, how you think, what makes you confident, and what makes you afraid. This battle wasn't a surprise encounter, Admiral. It was a carefully planned lesson." Captain Rex was still trapped on the human ship, but now he was studying it instead of trying to escape. Every surface told a story of survival. Scorch marks from energy weapons that had been repaired and reinforced. Hull breaches that had been patched with metal from destroyed enemy ships. Even the air recycling system had been rebuilt, using parts from a dozen different technologies. "This ship has been through hell," Rex reported. "But instead of being destroyed, it got stronger. Every time it was damaged, the crew found a way to make it better. That's the human way, Blake explained. We don't just survive disasters, we learn from them. Every battle teaches us something new. Every defeat makes us smarter. Every victory shows us a better way to fight. Admiral Vex looked at his damaged fleet. 15 ships disabled, dozens of systems offline, hundreds of warriors injured. But none of them were dead. The humans could have destroyed his entire fleet, but they had chosen not to. Why? He asked Blake. Why didn't you destroy us? Because, Admiral, we're not conquerors, we're survivors. And survivors understand that sometimes the best victory is the one where nobody has to die. On the human ship, Captain Rex found the ship's medical bay. Inside were records of treatments for diseases he had never heard of, injuries from weapons that didn't exist in Titan databases, and surgical procedures for repairing damage from environments that would kill most species. Instantly. Sir, Rex called over the radio. I found their medical records, these humans. They've survived things that would kill us. Radiation that would melt our armor. Diseases that attack the nervous system. Injuries that should be fatal. How? Dr. Cole asked. Blake answered. Because we had to. When your homeworld is attacked every few years, when your colonies are constantly under threat, when your very existence depends on being tougher than everything trying to kill you, you either adapt or you die. We chose to adapt. The video logs showed more evidence of human ingenuity. When their weapons ran out of ammunition, they made new bullets from scrap metal. When their food supplies were destroyed, they grew plants in their ship's waste recycling system. When their computer systems were damaged, they rewrote the software using equipment meant for completely different purposes. Every human learns. To do this, Admiral Vex asked. Every human has to, Blake replied. In our space, the universe doesn't care how strong you are. It only cares whether you're smart enough to stay alive. Captain Rex finally understood. The humans weren't stronger than Titans. They weren't more advanced. They weren't more numerous. But they had something the Titans had never needed. The absolute refusal to give up, combined with the intelligence to turn every disadvantage into an advantage. Commander Blake, Admiral Vex said slowly. What do you want from us? Blake's expression grew serious. We want you to understand, Admiral, that the galaxy is about to face challenges that can't be solved with brute force. There are threats coming that will require every species to work together. You can either learn to adapt, or watch your empire crumble when the real war begins. The lesson was complete, but the test was just beginning. The human ship's airlock opened with a soft hiss. Admiral Vex stepped inside, ducking his massive frame through the doorway built for smaller beings. Commander Blake stood waiting for him in the narrow corridor, looking tiny compared to the 12-foot Titan Admiral. Welcome aboard the UNS Defiance, Blake said simply. Vex looked around the cramped interior. Every surface was covered with equipment, spare parts, and repair patches. The ship hummed with life, not the quiet efficiency of Titan vessels, but the busy noise of a machine that was constantly being improved and maintained. Your ship is... Vex paused, searching for the right words. Different. Blake smiled. Follow me. Let me show you what a human ship really is. They walked through corridors that were half the width of Titan standard. Emergency equipment hung from every wall. Repair tools were built into the floor panels. Even the lighting system had backup power sources running through the walls. This ship is 150 years old, Blake explained as they walked. It has been destroyed and rebuilt 17 times. Every time we thought it was finished, the crew found a way to bring it back. They entered what Blake called the engineering section. To Admiral Vex, it looked like controlled chaos. Engines from different species had been connected together with cables and pipes that seemed to grow like metal vines. Nothing matched, but everything worked. How? Vex asked, staring at the impossible machine. Necessity, Blake replied. When your original engine dies in the middle of a battle, you use whatever you can find to make a new one. When that breaks, you improve it. When the improvement fails, you make it better. After a century of this, you end up with something that shouldn't work, but does. A young human female approached them. She was even smaller than Blake, barely reaching Vex's waist. Her hands were dirty with engine oil and her clothes were covered in repair patches. "Admiral Vex," Blake said. "Meet Chief Engineer Lisa. She's 25 years old and she's rebuilt this ship's engines 4 times. Lisa looked up at the massive Titan without fear. "Admiral, your ships are impressive, but they're built to work in perfect conditions." "Our ships are built to work when everything goes wrong." She led them to a workstation covered with pieces of Titan technology. Vex recognized parts from his own ships, weapons components, shield generators, computer systems. "We've been studying your technology for decades," Lisa explained. "Not to steal it, but to understand it. Every piece of equipment has strengths and weaknesses. When we know both, we can defeat the strengths and exploit the weaknesses." Admiral Vex felt humbled. His species had ruled the galaxy through superior technology and overwhelming force. But these humans had defeated him using his own technology against him. Blake led him to the ship's command center. Captain Rex was there, no longer trapped but sitting in a chair designed for humans. He looked uncomfortable but unharmed. "Rex," Admiral Vex said, "are you well?" "I am, sir," Rex replied. "But I've learned things that change everything." The command center was tiny compared to a Titan bridge. But every station was manned by humans who seemed to know their jobs perfectly. They worked together like parts of a single machine, each person anticipating what the others needed. "This is how we fight," Blake explained. "Not as individuals showing off our strength, but as a team where everyone's skills matter. Your warriors are powerful alone. Our crews are unstoppable together." On the main screen, they showed Admiral Vex footage from the battle, but this time he saw it from the human perspective. Their ships had moved in perfect coordination, each pilot knowing exactly what the others would do. When one ship was damaged, the other 2 immediately adjusted their tactics to protect it. "Your species fights like hunters," Blake said. "You overpower your prey through superior force. We fight like survivors. We adapt, we improvise, and we never give up." Dr. Cole's voice came over the communication system. "Admiral, you need to hear this. I finished translating the human ship's complete database." Blake nodded. "Show him everything, Dr. Cole." The screen filled with information that made Admiral Vex's blood run cold. Star charts showing threats from beyond the galaxy. Records of contact with hostile species that made the Titans look weak. Military reports describing weapons that could destroy entire star systems. "What is this?" Vex whispered. "The real war," Blake replied seriously. "Admiral, your species has been fighting minor conflicts in one small part of the galaxy. Out there in the darkness between galaxies, there are threats that make our little battle look like children playing with toys." The data showed massive alien fleets approaching from deep space. Weapons that could crack planets in half. Ships the size of moons carrying armies that numbered in the billions. "We've been preparing for this for 2 centuries, Blake continued. "Not just humans, but dozens of other species you've never heard of. We've been building alliances, sharing technology, and learning how to fight enemies that can't be defeated by strength alone." Admiral Vex stared at the tactical displays. "How long do we have?" 5 years. Maybe 10. The scout ships have already entered our galaxy. The main fleet is coming behind them. Blake activated another screen that showed the full scope of the human alliance. Hundreds of species, thousands of ships, all working together. Some were primitive by Titan standards, others were more advanced. But they all had one thing in common. They had learned to survive against impossible odds. "This is why we revealed ourselves to you," Blake explained. "The Titan Empire is powerful, but you fight like individual warriors. Against what's coming, we need to fight like a unified army. Your strength combined with our adaptability could save the galaxy." "Captain," Rex stood up from his chair. "Sir, I've seen their training programs. They don't just teach humans how to fight. They teach them how to think like their enemies, how to turn disadvantages into advantages, how to win battles they should lose." Admiral Vex looked around the small command center. These humans had defeated his mighty fleet with 3 small ships. But more importantly, they had done it without destroying anyone. They had proven their point without making enemies. "What do you want from us?" he asked Blake. "Partnership," Blake replied. "Your empire has the resources and manpower we need. We have the experience and knowledge you need. Together, we might have a chance when the real enemy arrives." On the screen, they showed Admiral Vex what human training looked like. Crews practicing repairs under combat conditions. Soldiers learning to fight in zero gravity underwater and in poisonous atmospheres. Engineers building weapons from scraps and spare parts. "This is what we offer," Blake said. "Not conquest, but survival. Not submission, but cooperation. Your warriors are brave and strong. With our training, they could become unstoppable." Admiral Vex thought about his damaged fleet, his trapped warriors, and his shattered pride. Then he thought about the threats coming from beyond the galaxy. The choice was simple: adapt or die. "Where do we begin?" he asked. Blake smiled for the first time since the battle began. "With respect, Admiral, your species has strength we need. Our species has skills you need. When we combine both, we become something neither of us could be alone." As Admiral Vex prepared to leave the human ship, he realized that the galaxy had just changed forever. The age of conquest was ending. The age of survival was about to begin. And for the first time in centuries, the Titans had found something more valuable than victory. They had found allies who could teach them how to endure.